Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out because she ignored my daughter asking for help because she said it wasn't her responsibility? So I am 45 male, my son is 21 male, Joseph, my daughter is 17 female, Becky, my sister is 50 female, while the mother of my kids / my late wife is dead, and my sister never married. So, my son has found a house closer to his college, so he went and drove out to check it out, then planned to spend the night at his buddy's place, then spend the rest of the day there, then come home. I was on a business trip, and my sister has moved in with us because she fell into a bad financial situation during these times. She doesn't pay rent or bills. So I was coming home from the business trip I mentioned above, and I get a call from Joseph, and he says that he's taking Becky to ER because she was in excruciating pain. I immediately joined them at ER, and apparently it's a ruptured appendix. My sister won't answer the phone, so I asked Joseph if he saw her before he left, and he said, yeah, she was in her room watching something on her phone. So then I asked Becky if she talked to her aunts before they left, and she said yes, and that she kept telling her and was practically begging her to do something and that it hurt. But she wouldn't do anything, and told her that she wasn't her responsibility. I lost my cool, so I left Joseph to watch Becky, after they had given her painkillers and put her to sleep. And the doctors had verbally told us anything we need to know, but I admit I need to work on thinking straight while angry. Then I went to our house and I asked my sister why she didn't do anything, or at least call me and told her about Becky's condition. She said that she thought she was complaining about period cramps or something, that with that knowledge, she didn't think it was her responsibility to do anything. I told her to leave. She then started apologizing like crazy, but I was seeing red, and I packed her things up and told her to leave. She drove away, and then I returned to the ER. So earlier today, while I was in the hospital, they had moved Becky. My sister calls me and says that she had to beg her friends for a place to stay, and that I'm such a bad person. I laughed and told her to reap what she sowed and hung up. But now looking back on the situation, I think I might be an a-hole for how rude I was to her and for kicking her out. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Sounds like the next time she calls you, tell her she's not your responsibility. Not the a-hole. A 17-year-old has been through enough periods, most likely, to be able to handle period cramps herself without much complaining. That's just a BS excuse that your sister used because she didn't want to take care of her knees. 17 or not, if somebody comes to you in that much pain, take them to the hospital. I'm sure you'd rather pay the insurance bill for something minor, rather than your daughter sitting at home in excruciating pain with no answers. Also, women's periods change over the years and can suddenly become painful. Even if it were period issues, the cause could be cysts, fibroids, endometriosis, infections, etc. A 17-year-old, as you say, has been through enough periods to distinguish between painful but normal cramps and something more serious that requires immediate medical attention. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole one bit. Even if she wasn't living with you, not helping a family member because she's busy watching something on her phone sucks. Considering she was living with you, she sounds pretty horrible. Her begging her friends and not having a place to stay? Not your responsibility. Not the a-hole. Your sister is a freeloader, first of all. Second, your daughter could have died, but your sister didn't care because she's lazy as hell. I'm glad you kicked her out. Please don't ever second guess yourself. Your daughter really could have died because your sister didn't care at all about anyone but herself. Not the a-hole. You helped your sister out when she was in a financial crisis when it wasn't your responsibility to do anything. And she can't even help your minor daughter out in a medical emergency? Listening to your daughter's symptoms is free. Calling 911 is free, especially since she was already on her phone. She sounds like a completely self-absorbed a-hole, and you were right to kick her to the curb. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother's fiancée out of my car on her engagement night? My brother's engagement dinner was last night. I don't like his fiancée for several reasons. She's mean and brutally honest with her comments about my life. Always tries to belittle me every chance she gets. Like belittling my degree and living situation. I'm civil though I have a temper, and sometimes I can be mean towards those with no respect. My wife passed away from breast cancer. We bought a car and it's the first decent car we got. But my wife and I didn't make a lot of money, so it was a challenge to save up. It was her choice, so I make sure to keep it maintained regularly. My brother's fiancé made comments about it, calling it a piece of junk, and it hurt because it's part of mine and my wife's past. When the party was over, my cousin left, was the one who got them to the restaurant, and my brother didn't want to take an Uber. He wanted me to give them a ride. I said okay, but his fiancée stood there saying she wasn't going to ride in that piece of junk on her engagement night. I got really annoyed by this comment, and my mom, who was in the passenger seat, did too. My brother spent 5 minutes convincing her, and she finally got inside the car, but didn't stop with her constant criticisms and how awful and dirty my car was, and continuously calling it a piece of junk. My brother said nothing, so I made eye contact via the rear view mirror and said if she called my car a piece of junk one more time, she's out. I don't care if I drop her off in the middle of nowhere. My brother's fiancé went quiet for a few minutes, then commented on the necklace that was hanging from the rear view mirror, calling it ugly, asking why it hung cheap, ugly stuff to make this piece of junk even uglier. I freaking had it. That necklace belongs to my wife, for Christ's sake. I got mad. I stopped the car and told her to shut up and get the hell out. My brother asked if I was serious, while my mom was trying to get me to continue driving. I repeatedly told her to get out, but didn't. So I got out, walked up to her side and opened the door for her to step out. She started crying, and my brother called me nuts for acting out like that. I told both of them to get out, and they did. I drove off, and Mom didn't stop yelling, saying I can't leave them on the street. They just got engaged. And told me to turn around and pick them up, but I screamed at her to stay the hell out of it, or she'll join them. She told the family what I did, and my dad was pissed, saying it was disgraceful to do this to my brother and his fiancée, and should be ashamed of myself for making a scene on their engagement night. He said I need serious help for my anger, and should have just sucked it up till I got home. Mid-argument, I walked out, leaving him talking to himself. I'm sure my brother doesn't want to see me for letting him down on a special night in his life, but his fiancé was being disrespectful. So, was I the a-hole? Edit. She did not know that the necklace belonged to my late wife. So, while she shouldn't have commented on it, I could see that she wasn't aware of its sentimental value. Not the a-hole. People who are proud of having a brutally honest personality just enjoy being cruel. You had every right to defend your deceased wife's necklace and your belongings. You'd be upset with yourself if you didn't. I'm sorry for your loss. Brutally honest is just code to I'm an a-hole, deal with it. Can't see that marriage lasting long. I came here to say just that. Every self-described brutally honest person I've met is a thin-skinned a-hole can dish out but not take it. Not the a-hole. The fact that it was their engagement party is not even relevant to this. In no way does that excuse her awful behavior. No, it doesn't excuse her behavior. I get my brother didn't do anything wrong, but he was there and saw how the fight started, and to blame me solely for the fight I think is unfair. My dad said I needed to get a grip because he knows how I can be sometimes, but if he wants to blame, then he should blame her as well. Not the a-hole. Assuming that you left them somewhere where they can get home from, and weren't in immediate danger of being eaten by a wolf. Why on earth is your brother more assertive with his fiancée when trying to save $20 in an Uber than when she's cruelly insulting his sibling? I don't know why he refused to take an Uber in the first place, but I think it's because his fiancée thought it'd harm her prestige. I could see how she was making insensitive comments about the necklace since she didn't know it belongs to my wife, but her attitude was too much to handle, frankly. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my in-laws I'll never cook for them because I don't cook for ungrateful people? My in-laws are big food people. They're also the kind of people who complain about the food they get behind a cook's back. I always knew this about my in-laws. My husband warned me, told me he had told them to knock it off before, but they won't, so he refuses to engage. They are that ungrateful that when my grandmother-in-law died, his family were all witching about the food a neighbor brought out to them. Casserole, salad, sandwiches, pizzas, and saying how bland or mad the food was. The food was tasty, and there wasn't a damn thing wrong with it. But that's just them. They never talk like that about each other's food, but as an in-law, you're not exactly exempt from criticism. Another time, they were at a neighborhood barbecue and complained about the stuff other people brought, even saying something about the food a 12-year-old prepared. They made little skewers, and saying it was so obviously a child's cooking, meaning nothing special, as they put it. So anyway, my sister-in-law had her youngest christening recently. She had hired a caterer and they cancelled the last minute. Workers came down with COVID. They ended up asking me if I would help get food together for it. I said no. My husband told them we were busy and didn't have the time for it. Sister-in-law said I usually have chill Saturdays and could easily prepare something. He spoke to them and said in no uncertain terms that I owe them food. What followed was, they stopped by while he was working and I was home, and asking me to make a couple of pizzas for the christening party. I told them they already had their answer. They told me I could get some money thrown my way for it. I told them even if they paid me double the standard price of 2 pizzas, I still wouldn't cook for them with how they treat food made by other people. They told me being part of the family means having to sometimes, and I said I would never cook for them because I don't cook for ungrateful people. They're pissed, and a few of them called me an a-hole. My husband told me they were acting like kids, and I was fine. Part of me feels like the a-hole because I know how they are and I engaged with them. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Stand your ground. They sound awful. You're completely right. There's no point making anything when you already know they'll criticize it. Part of me wonders if that's why the caterer cancelled. She knew she'd get a bad review from them. This. They're going to complain about it, so why make it? If you took the money, they'd feel more entitled to complain. Basically, they're going to complain if OP does it and complain when OP doesn't. So why bother putting in the effort? I hate people who complain about food but will still eat them. That's just looking for something to pick on. Not the a-hole. They were told no several times. Only when they continually pressed did you lay it all out for them. Do not let them bully you. Kudos to your husband for having your back with his family. Yeah, most of these stories have the husband rolling over to avoid conflict. Not an a-hole. I honestly also feel weird about them putting so much pressure on Opie to make food for them, even when they already said no. It makes me feel like they really want other people to bring food so they can criticize it, as if it's a family hobby. Not the a-hole. I've heard you talk crap about every single thing I've ever seen you eat. Why would I want to cook for you? That's not rhetorical. Please, tell me why that would make sense. Last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my friend after she broke my antique easel accidentally? In World War II, my grandpa was stationed in Germany and became friends with a well-known local artist who happened to be Jewish. My grandpa helped him flee the country, and in return, the artist gave him his handcrafted easel, which was already considered an antique at the time. When I was 12, my grandpa passed away and he left me the easel as he knew I wanted to be an artist myself. The easel is worth around $4,000 and is insured. I keep it in my art studio in the far corner of the room, out of the way where it displays my favorite painting. Last week on Friday, we had a small get-together with our friends for the first time since being fully vaccinated. Whenever we have a group of people over, we hang a sign across our stairs that says "Do not cross." I collect antiques, which we display upstairs, and that's also where my art studio is. All of our friends know this is why we don't want people up there. One of our friends, Emily, spilled wine down her shirt, while our downstairs bathroom was occupied, so I let her go upstairs to use the one off of our bedroom. I did not specifically tell her not to go anywhere else upstairs, as I assumed she knew based on the sign that we didn't want people hanging out up there. After about 20 minutes, I realized Emily still didn't come down, so I went up to check on her. She wasn't in the bathroom, so I started looking for her and found her in my art studio on the opposite side of the house from the bathroom. The door had been shut. She was standing over my easel, which had fallen and hit a windowsill, which cracked one of the legs. She immediately apologized, which I said I appreciated, but I asked her to leave as she had broken my trust and boundaries. I told her there was absolutely no reason she should have been in that room, and she said she was just curious. I told her that was no excuse, and again asked her to leave, which she did while crying. Emily did know the story of the easel and knows how protective I am of it. I have not talked to her since it happened. Our friend group is split. Some think I was too harsh since it was an accident. Others says she was snooping and deserved to be kicked out. Am I the a-hole? Info. Emily and I have been friends for years, although I wouldn't call her my best friend. We are both part of the same close-knit friend group and do hang out alone on occasion. Everyone in the group views Emily as our kid sister because she grew up in a very sheltered household and can tend to be a bit ignorant sometimes. We all tend to protect her because of this, and that's why I think some of our friends think I'm being too harsh. As for the repairs, I reached out to a museum a couple of hours away that does beautiful restoration work. They sounded optimistic, but advised that there may be a permanent mark where the crack is and a loss of value. We are waiting to hear back on the estimated cost before we send it to be fixed. Not only did she snoop, but she touched it, causing it to fall. It's not like the weight of her glass caused it to fall over. And she knew how important it was to you and how delicate it was, which makes it even worse. In that moment, she disregarded your feelings and your physical boundaries. She deemed her curiosity or whatever as being more important. It is not even the story of origin that made it important, but the fact that it was from your grandpa to you, and it was important to him. I'd honestly never allow her in my home again, and our friendship would be completely different and beyond full repair. Not today, Hull. Thank you. Your response makes me feel a lot better about my reaction. The easel is adjustable and can be folded to become portable, and I think she was messing with that when it fell. I'm not 100% sure, but the part that holds the paintings had been adjusted, so I'm assuming she had been trying to adjust other parts of it as well. I'm so heartbroken about the entire situation, and I don't know if I'll be able to get over this violated feeling. So she had gone as far as physically manipulating it. That's outrageous, especially with an old treasured piece. If she was curious about how it worked, she could have asked you to demonstrate some time. Instead, she took advantage of being allowed to use the bathroom. As for now, she's shown you she can't be trusted to respect you and your property. You were acting accordingly. She crossed your boundaries, and in the process broke a prized possession. Not today, Hull. Not today, Hull. You literally had a sign saying don't cross, and she still went in the room. Stupid games equals stupid rewards. I, 21 male, got a friend request from my dead ex-girlfriend, 21 female. Original post. In 8th grade, I met this girl, North. She was in my band class, and the two of us hit it off. I asked her out on a movie date, and from there, we became boyfriend and girlfriend. She was my first girlfriend, and things were going all right, until her dad got a new job across the country in California. North moved away, but we decided to try long-distance dating through our freshman year. We were not built for long-distance dating. I couldn't protect her from bullies, hug her when she was crying, or tell her it was going to be alright when she told me about her depression. We got into arguments over God knows what, but decided to keep the relationship going, because her dad was trying to transfer back closer to our hometown. That was until she stopped texting me around Christmas. Then her sister sent me a funeral program and asked me to go to California. North's sister told me that she had taken her own life because the bullying had become too much, and that I wasn't there for her when she needed me. It broke my heart that I couldn't go to California for the funeral, and for the past 8 years, I've mourned her loss. I spent my entire high school career trying to rebuild myself from all the damage. I attended meetings for people who had lost family members and loved ones. I went to therapy for 4 years to help process the loss. I had to learn how to become dependable because I didn't want it to happen again. After working on myself for 4 years, I asked out one of my classmates, Lucy. We started dating at the tail end of our senior year and are about to celebrate our 4-year anniversary in April. Last night, I got a notification from Facebook saying I had a new friend request. I opened the app and found out it was from North. She looks older, but it's undeniable that there are pictures of her as an adult, with her fiancé and her newborn daughter. I have spent 8 years of my life believing that she was gone, but here she is with undeniable proof that she has been living a great life without me. My stomach is in knots, my heart is sinking to the ground, and my mind is racing, trying to figure out what happened and what I should do. Do I accept a friend request? Do I ignore it and try to move on? I feel completely lost, and I feel like my entire life has been a lie. I've spent the entire night looking at pictures of her and her family, floored that she would do this to me. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. She faked her own death to break up with you. Very likely. Teenagers do the stupidest things. That's so messed up. Or she was trying to manipulate him to come see her in the stupidest possible way. Whatever you do, please discuss this with your current girlfriend as well. She will likely feel betrayed if you reach out to an ex you never got closure with without telling her. That being said, I would accept the request and ask her about the fake funeral and everything. You have a right to know. Jesus, I didn't even think about how to talk to Lucy about this. I know I need to tell her, but I don't even know how to bring it up. Might the sister have done it without North's knowledge? North was the one to stop texting me first. I don't see a world where she ghosts me, and her sister just so happens to send her regards. As a parent, if my child went through all you did, I would be on the phone with her and her parents asking what the Of course more politely, but what in the actual hell? Sorry you went through all this, OP. I think the advice you've been given is really good. Have you talked to your current girlfriend about this? Oh, and to add, I'd make sure you block the whole lot of them when and if you get some answers. Lucy has always known about North. It was one of the first things I told her about when we started dating. She's always been understanding and patient with me figuring out our relationship. Now for the first update. Thank you all to all who have responded. I want to get to each and every one of you, but for now, I hope this update will do. For now, I have decided to wait until Lucy gets home from work before I make any decision on whether or not to accept the friend request. I want to know what she thinks, and I can always depend on her to keep me level-headed. But until then, I just kinda want to sort out my feelings. I remember the day that I found out about North's supposed death. It was a few days before Christmas, and the snow just started to hit the ground. I remember walking to the edge of the neighborhood along the main street. I sat on the sidewalk, watching the cars, thinking about how if I walked onto the road, they wouldn't be able to stop. I was sitting there on a sidewalk contemplating for what felt like hours. It was there I decided I wanted to keep living. It was the most important choice of my life. But now that choice feels hollow. It feels meaningless. Every decision that I've made since then has come from that choice I made 8 years ago, and now it feels empty and without promise. I'll keep you guys updated on what Lucy and I decide. Please don't think for a second I plan to do anything drastic. I really don't. I want to keep making that choice to live. But for now, I just need to figure out my meaning. Now for the second update. I accepted a friend request. After Lucy and I talked about it, we agreed that the possibility of getting some sort of closure would be worth it. So I accepted a friend request and sent out a text saying hello. About a half an hour later, I received a notification that North responded. We started talking a bit, talking about how our lives have been. Turns out, her and her fiancé were in town visiting family, and it started to make her think about all the hurt she costed me, and that she wouldn't feel comfortable moving on with her relationship without knowing if I was okay. She tried to apologize, saying that we were dumb kids and that it seemed easier to ghost me instead of break up with me. She told me all about how in some messed up teenager way, she thought giving me an explanation to her ghosting me would make it easier to move on, and so her and her sister concocted a whole story. I told her about the years of therapy, the years of loneliness, and how guilty I felt when I started dating again. I told her about how I used to think she was the one for me, even through the nights of arguing, and that she left me more hurt than if she just threw me away. And I told her that in some weird way, I'm thankful to her. Her death changed me for the better, and I would not be the man I am today if it wasn't for her. I then texted, having said that, I will not accept your apology. It's a shallow attempt to free your guilty conscience before you get married. If you were really sorry, you would have said something sooner. You would have apologized sooner, or would not have done it at all. You took the coward's way out, and I do not forgive cowards. She said she understood, but hoped that one day I could move past the hurt she caused me and find it in my heart to forgive her. I took screenshots of the whole conversation and sent it to her fiancé. I don't know if he knows the story between me and her, but now he can have enough of an idea that they can start that conversation. I hope they figure out how to move past it. After all, they look very happy together, and the mistakes of a teenager should not affect her current life. However, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a part of me hoping it crashes and burns. I know this is not the update some of you guys wanted. Some of you really wanted me to bully my way through the conversation or play mind games to mess with her. But that is not who I am, nor is it who I want to be. On the bright side, I can now truly move on from the relationship that costed me 8 years of my life and put the whole story of North behind me. Thank you to everyone who helped me find the courage to face this head on. Thank you to everyone who sent kind words. And thank you to the guy who DM'd me the number to suicide hotline. I won't need it for the foreseeable future, but I appreciate it nonetheless. All of that seems just so unnecessary. So, I want to break up with him, but I'm a coward, so I don't want to tell him that. Instead, I'm just going to ghost him because that's easier than breaking up with him. But I also want to be easier for him to move on. So I'll have my sister create a funeral brochure and make up a lie about me ending myself. But wait, let's also blame him for not being there to protect me. So much for sparing his feelings, I guess. Oh, and let's not forget, I'm going to invite him to my non-existent funeral. Phew, thank God he didn't try to come to it at all. That would have been really awkward. I really want to know what their plan was, if he suddenly was able to come to the funeral. Honestly, judging by the ability of the teens I know to anticipate for consequences of their actions, I'm going to say with some confidence, there was no plan. Wow, what a crappy thing to do. Especially blaming OP for her death. Saying that without him there, she couldn't handle living. That's just awful. North and her sister are despicable. Yeah, I don't see in what world there was a well-meaning logic there. Faking her death, okay, extreme conflict avoidance, yada yada. But going, she ended herself because you didn't take good enough care of her? That's practically a murder attempt. And I also want to know what kind of sister would go along with such a crappy plan. If I had proposed something like this to my sister as a way to break up with my partner, she would have smacked me upside the head and told on me at that age. And at my current age, she'd probably just tell my partner to break up with me. LMAO. Unfortunately, I do know someone immature enough to do this. They had an extremely poor upbringing and are constantly finding the love of their life every 6 months or so. They choose to not find a job, so they have lots of free time to make stuff up. Next story, cheating girlfriend in a coma. For context, I'm male 28 and my girlfriend is 26. This all happened around the end of 2023, so I was 26 and she was 24. My girlfriend struggled with eating disorders for a long time. She would have months where she ate well, and then all of a sudden revert back to old patterns. Around this time, she was starving herself. Because of this, she ended up passing out, and due to some pretty incompetent paramedics, she suffered a stroke and went into a coma. She has since woken up, but now has locked-in syndrome and can only move her eyes. A couple of months after she went into a coma, her brother came to me and told me that, in the weeks leading up to it, a guy had been regularly visiting her apartment and sometimes sleeping over. Obviously, this was crushing to hear. I couldn't even confront her about it. When I was alone with her, I used her thumb to unlock her phone and found texts confirming that she had been having sex with this guy, as well as a couple of other random hookups. I asked her brother for a favor, to tell the family that we had broken up before the coma, so I wouldn't seem like a complete a-hole for leaving her like this. He agreed, and I haven't been back to visit her since. I pray for her recovery. No one deserves to suffer through something like that. Even just watching her in that state was hard. But still, I can't go back and see her knowing what she did. Edit? By the way, to anyone saying this is karma and that she deserves it, please relax and do your search. No one deserves locked-in syndrome, at least not for something as comparably inconsequential as cheating. Now for the comments. You did good. Her brother did good too. He could have told me a little earlier, but better late than never, I suppose. Dude, that's his sister. You owe him one. A guy like that is someone you can trust. Take it from someone a lot older. A lot of people you think you know will end up crossing you later in life. You should stay friends with this guy. Getting locked-in syndrome is literally one of my biggest fears. Anyway, sorry OP. What a messed up and confusing time to find all that out. You're not a bad person for not being able to pretend while she's locked in. I doubt I would be able to either. One of my fears too. I can't imagine how hellish it feels for her. I'm so sorry. It's an all-around awful situation. How crushing for you. You said you haven't been back to visit her, and she has locked-in syndrome. Do you think she has any idea why you aren't there? Take care of yourself. I'm no expert in how LIS works for the person suffering. If she's at least conscious and aware, then I'm sure she has some idea. I was going to speak to her, but talking about this when she can't converse back felt wrong. My now fiancé went into a coma and had locked-in syndrome for about 45 days. She still cries thinking about it. I can't imagine what she went through. This was before we met, by the way. But damn, crazy stuff. Honestly though, good job doing what was right for you, bro. You didn't make it mean or vindictive, you just left. And I hope you're doing well. Objectively, I hope she does well in the future too. My fiancé had to relearn how to walk, talk, swallow, and even chew. Tough to come back from it, but it's possible. I'm so sorry. I'm so glad her brother told you. He really stood up for your best interests. I hope you're able to heal quickly from this. This was all about a year and a bit ago now. I've moved on mostly. I'm dating again. Nothing serious at the moment, but still. Last story. Ran into my cheating ex's parents this evening. They told me they missed seeing me around. I dated Cindy for almost 3 years. We had ups and downs like any couple, but I thought things were good. Her family adored me. Her parents, who I will call Jim and Michelle, told me how they thought I was really good for Cindy. 6 months ago, I caught her sneaking her guy into my apartment when she thought I would be at work. We had separate places, and she had a spare key to my apartment for emergencies. I had been using PTO that was about to expire, and I hadn't told her. Imagine my freaking surprise when she and her guy barged in before realizing I was sitting on the couch. She gasped, and it looked like he had just been caught with his hand in a cookie jar. I made her give me my key back, kicked them out, and blocked her. I think they were exercising some weird cheating kink by going to my apartment. They probably had done it before. Today, I went to a bar after work to eat my weight in French fries and down a couple of beers. It's located 2 blocks from my apartment complex, so I wouldn't need to drive if I wanted to get drunk. I was sitting at the bar when someone tapped my shoulder. I looked over, and it was Jim and Michelle. It took me a moment to recognize them. I asked what they were doing there, and they told me someone had recommended this bar to them at some point. It was probably me months ago, so they wanted to check it out. They invited me to their table, and I figured why the hell not. We talked about work and they asked how my mom was doing. I think we all knew the conversation would eventually turn to Cindy, and then her mom spilled the beans. She's now in a relationship with the guy she was cheating on me with. Jim and Michelle absolutely despise him. He's rude, crass, and makes for a poor dinner guest. He's overly affectionate and possessive of Cindy. At Christmas, he drunkenly hit on Cindy's aunt, Jim's sister, and made things uncomfortable. Cindy has forbidden her parents and their extended family from asking about me or questioning why she left me for a fratty craphead. Her parents feel immensely disappointed in her and told me that I was always such a big help with family and family gatherings. They were even nice enough to cover my tab. I just got home a few minutes ago, and I feel better than I have in a long time. I suppose this is what winning a breakup feels like, which I acknowledge is petty, but what the hell? Nothing better than this feeling. You did nothing wrong, and they have a stupid daughter. I hope you find a worthy person who values you because you deserve it. I feel bad for the parents, and by extension, the family, because they have to watch their daughter stand by a stupid decision just because she's too proud to admit she messed up. And to a very, very small degree, I feel bad for the daughter. If he's this bad to her own family, I can only imagine how he is behind closed doors. It sounds like she's staying with him because that's the only way she can justify what she did to Opie. That said, she chose all of this, and I feel no sympathy for the life she's chosen. Absolutely sucks. Sorry that happened. One of the things about breakups people overlook is also losing cool relationships with family members of that person's. Her parents and her family are lovely people, and I did miss them. They were always a good hang. Did you tell them why you broke up? They knew. It's likely one of the reasons they hate their daughter's new boyfriend and why they feel disappointed in her.